Hey warrior, most people spend their entire lives trying to grip the steering wheel of life so tightly that their knuckles turn white, completely unaware that their desperate need to control everything is exactly what is destroying them from the inside out. You know the exact feeling I'm talking about. It is 2 in the morning. The house is dead silent, but your mind is running 100 miles an hour. You are lying there staring at the ceiling, agonizing over an awkward conversation from 3 days ago, sweating over a mortgage payment, or mentally preparing for a worst-case scenario at work that has not even happened yet. You feel that heavy, sinking knot in your stomach and that tightness in your chest. You tell yourself to just go to sleep, to just breathe and let it go. But the quiet war raging inside your head refuses to offer a truce. You put on a brave smile during the day, drinking your 16 ounces of coffee and pretending everything is perfectly fine. But beneath the surface, you are exhausted from constantly overthinking every single detail. If you have ever felt like you are carrying 100 pounds of invisible weight on your shoulders while the rest of the world seems to have it all figured out, I need you to hear this loud and clear. You are not broken, and you are certainly not alone. You are simply fighting a modern psychological battle using the completely wrong weapons. A few years ago, I was stuck in that exact same miserable loop. I was checking my phone 80 times a day, refreshing my inbox every 5 minutes, and drowning in a constant state of low-grade panic. I convinced myself that if I worried enough, I was somehow being responsible and protecting myself from failure. But all I was really doing was draining my own life force. That all changed one night when I stumbled upon a private journal written over 2,000 years ago by a man who had infinitely more pressure on his shoulders than I ever will. His name was Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who ruled an empire covering millions of square miles. He navigated brutal wars, political betrayals, and devastating plagues. Yet amidst all that chaos, he cultivated a mind of absolute stillness. In his private diary, he wrote a warning and a promise that changed my life forever. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That quote hit me like a freight train because I realized I had spent my entire life trying to control the uncontrollable world around me while completely neglecting the one thing I actually owned: my own mind. In this video, we are going on a journey to decode 8 ancient Stoic habits that will help you stop worrying and finally quiet your overactive mind. These are not cheap, fleeting life hacks. They are battle-tested psychological tools forged by ancient emperors and resilient slaves to build an impenetrable fortress of inner peace. I promise you, by the time we reach the final habit, which is the most profound and vital lesson of them all, you will have the exact blueprint to stop living in fear and start reclaiming your power. Let us begin with the first phase of reclaiming your peace, which is building an impenetrable fortress around your mind. Think of your brain as a sacred temple, but right now, you are leaving the front door wide open for anyone and anything to wander inside. How many times have you felt a sudden spike of anxiety? Not because of anything happening in your own life, but because of what you just saw or consumed. Maybe it was a terrifying news headline about the economy, A toxic coworker complaining about morning traffic, or a social media post that made you feel like you are falling completely behind in life. The truth is that most of your stress is actually imported. It is not even yours to begin with. You simply picked it up from the chaotic world around you. The ancient Stoics were ruthlessly intentional about what they allowed into their minds. The philosopher Seneca warned us to associate only with people who are likely to improve you. That same rule applies to our modern world today, not just to the people we surround ourselves with, but to every single piece of media we consume. You simply cannot fill your mind with toxic garbage and expect to cultivate inner peace. The first habit you must adopt is to strictly limit your inputs. Unfollow accounts that make you feel insecure. Restrict your daily news consumption to just 5 or 10 minutes. And distance yourself from individuals who constantly project their own fears onto you. Worry desperately needs fuel to survive. And if you deliberately starve it, it will eventually die. Build a strong mental gate and ask yourself, does this strengthen me or does this weaken me if it weakens you? It does not deserve a single second of your attention. However, protecting your mind from the outside world is only half of the battle. You also have to protect it from the terrifying scenarios your own imagination constantly creates. Have you ever worried endlessly about a catastrophic event that never even ended up happening? We vividly imagine the worst-case scenarios, like losing a secure job or facing public humiliation. And suddenly, our physical bodies react with racing hearts, as if the tragedy is already happening. To combat this exhausting cycle, the Stoics practiced a powerful habit called the premeditation of evils. Seneca once said that he robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. While dwelling on the worst possible outcome might sound pessimistic at first glance, it is actually the ultimate form of psychological armor. Each morning, instead of blindly hoping for a perfectly smooth day, a Stoic warrior would calmly ask themselves, what could possibly go wrong today? By imagining the absolute worst-case scenario from a place of calm logic, they completely robbed the disaster of its emotional shock value. They made total peace with the worst outcome before it ever arrived. Before your next high-stakes meeting, take 2 full minutes to close your eyes and ask yourself, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen here? And exactly how would I handle it with strength and grace? When you walk into the daily battlefield of life, having already rehearsed the worst-case scenario in the quiet safety of your own mind, you suddenly become practically unshakable. You will have already rehearsed your dignity, your self-control, and your unyielding inner calm. Now that you have built a defensive wall around your mind, it is time to master the profound art of letting go. Have you ever found yourself completely exhausted from worrying about the national economy, the unpredictable weather, or why a friend has not replied to your text message for 3 days? We pour so much of our vital energy into trying to manipulate things we cannot change. Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery and later became one of the greatest philosophical minds in history, gave us the ultimate key to mental freedom. He simply said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." The ancient Stoics divided the entire universe into 2 basic buckets. Bucket 1 holds everything you can actually control. which includes your daily choices, your immediate reactions, and your moral character. Bucket 2 holds absolutely everything you cannot control, such as the opinions of other people, the unchangeable past, and the unpredictable future. When you obsess over Bucket 2, you are literally throwing your energy against a solid brick wall and wondering why your spirit feels so incredibly drained. The next time you feel panic rising because a coworker made a passive-aggressive comment, or you are stuck in a massive traffic jam on the interstate highway, pause and run the control test. Ask yourself, is this entirely within my control? If the answer is no, you must intentionally drop that worry like a heavy stone into the ocean. You cannot control the traffic, but you can control whether you spend that time listening to an uplifting podcast or clenching your jaw in anger. Once you stop trying to control the external world, you must also stop trying to control time itself. Think about your deepest anxieties. 99% of your worry is not about what is happening right this very second. It is about a catastrophic scenario you think might happen next week, next month, or 5 years from now. Marcus Aurelius commanded himself to confine his thoughts to the present. The past is already dead and gone, and the future does not even exist yet. The only reality you truly own is this exact moment. When you allow your mind to endlessly drift into the terrifying land of what-ifs, you are allowing an imaginary future to rob you of your actual life today. To break this exhausting cycle, you must fiercely anchor yourself in the now. Whether you are drinking a hot 16-ounce cup of coffee, walking around your neighborhood, or sitting quietly at your desk, intentionally pull your wandering mind back to your physical senses. Remind yourself that right now, you are perfectly safe. You are breathing, and there is absolutely no disaster happening. Up to this point, you have learned how to drastically reduce your daily anxiety. But if you want to become truly invincible to the chaos of life, you need to pay close attention to what comes next. The next Stoic habit is going to completely flip your perspective upside down, because it asks you to do the exact opposite of what human nature tells you to do. That exact opposite action is learning not just to accept your struggles, but to actually fall in love with them. Let me ask you a brutally honest question. How much of your daily worry comes from actively fighting against reality? You did not want that 5-year relationship to end. You did not want to lose that promotion. And you certainly did not want that unexpected bill in the mail. Human nature tells us to resist, to complain, and to wish that things were completely different. But this constant resistance is the exact breeding ground for deep anxiety and bitterness. The Stoics practiced a radical concept called amor fati, which translates to a love of fate. The great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. To put it simply, every single obstacle you face is not blocking your path. It actually is your path. When you face a painful breakup or a sudden job loss, you have a clear choice. You can let the worry consume you, or you can look at the wreckage and say, I did not choose this, but I am going to use this. You use the heartbreak to discover your true self, and you use the failure to build undeniable resilience. Every time disaster strikes, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, How can I use this situation to become stronger instead of letting it use me? When you learn to love your fate, no matter how terribly it shows up, you become practically untouchable. But the ancient philosophers did not stop there. They knew that to truly conquer worry, you must actively train your mind for the worst. Which brings us to the habit of voluntary discomfort. One of the primary reasons you worry so much about the future is because you are deeply afraid of losing your modern comforts. We are terrified of being cold, being hungry, or losing our social status. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in all of Rome, understood this vulnerability perfectly. Despite his massive fortune, he would regularly spend days sleeping on a hard floor, wearing rough clothing, and eating only the cheapest food available. While enduring this, he would ask himself, "Is this the condition that I feared so much?" He knew that if you willingly train with discomfort, the unexpected hardships of life can no longer break you. You can apply this exact same warrior mindset today. Try taking a freezing cold shower for 3 minutes. Intentionally skip a meal to feel what hunger actually feels like. Or leave your smartphone at home while going for a long walk. When you purposely step into discomfort, you build an emotional callus. You teach your brain that you are incredibly capable of surviving hardships. Worry thrives on the fear of the unknown, but when you have already mastered discomfort, the future loses its power to terrify you. If you are ready to stop running from hardship, go to the comments right now and type, "I embrace the struggle." You have now learned how to defend your mind and conquer your circumstances. But to reach the ultimate level of inner peace, we must explore the deepest and most profound Stoic secret of them all. We have finally arrived at the absolute peak of ancient Stoic philosophy, the core secret that separates those who are constantly overwhelmed by the world from those who walk through it with quiet, unshakable power. Let me ask you this. How much of your daily anxiety comes from desperately chasing results? We obsess over whether we will get the promotion, whether people will validate our opinions, or whether our carefully made plans will actually succeed. Because all of these external results are entirely uncertain, our minds are trapped in a constant state of frantic worry. The Stoics recognized this psychological trap and offered a profound paradigm shift. You must focus entirely on being a good human being, rather than simply looking like a successful one. They called this living with virtue. The philosopher Epictetus powerfully advised that we should not demand that things happen exactly as we wish, but instead wish that they happen as they do, so that we will go on well. When you base your entire self-worth on your character, meaning your honesty, your courage, your kindness, and your daily discipline, you automatically win every single time, no matter what the unpredictable world decides to throw at you. Before you take a major risk or make a difficult decision, stop asking yourself if it will make you look foolish if you happen to fail. Instead, ask yourself, is this the morally right thing to do? And will I grow from this experience regardless of the final outcome? When your soul is clean and your actions are heavily guided by strong moral principles, you no longer have to live in constant fear of the judgments of other people. To lock in this powerful mindset, you must adopt the ancient habit of daily reflection. Imagine if every single night, before you went to sleep, instead of endlessly scrolling through your smartphone and absorbing more imported stress, you sat quietly to review your actions. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic writers in history, explained that when the light had been removed at the end of the day, he would examine his entire day, going back over what he had done and what he had said. He did not do this to shame himself, but to honestly observe his own behavior. Taking just 5 to 10 minutes each night to ask yourself if you acted with courage or if you let something completely outside of your control ruin your inner peace literally rewires your brain. You stop running from your past mistakes and start actively learning from them. As we reach the end of this profound journey together, I want you to remember one final, sobering truth known as memento mori. You could leave this life right now. Let that undeniable fact determine exactly what you do, what you say, and what you think today. You absolutely cannot control the chaotic storms of life, but you can always control your thoughtful response to them. You are a resilient warrior, and you already possess the ultimate power to master your own mind. If you are finally ready to claim that lasting peace, drop this final commitment in the comments section below. I live by virtue, not fear. Worry is the ultimate thief of peace. It creeps in quietly, grows loudly in the background of your mind, and if left unchecked, it can steal years of joy, focus, and quiet confidence from your life. But as we stand at the end of this profound journey together, I want you to realize something incredibly important. You are no longer the same exhausted person who started watching this. You are not powerless. You may not be able to control the massive, unpredictable storms of life, but you now possess the exact blueprints to train your mind to remain perfectly calm directly in the middle of them. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm clock rings, the world outside your window will still be just as loud and chaotic as it was yesterday. Your smartphone will still buzz with endless notifications. The global economy will still fluctuate wildly, and the people around you will still be entirely unpredictable. But tomorrow morning, you will step into that noise wearing a completely different psychological armor. When the panic tries to set in, you will firmly remember that your mind is an impenetrable fortress. You will ruthlessly filter your daily inputs, starving your anxiety of the toxic fuel it desperately needs to survive. When a sudden disaster strikes, you will not crumble or ask why this is happening to you. Instead, you will look the obstacle dead in the eye and declare amor fati, knowing that this exact hardship is the very fuel you need to grow stronger. You will draw a hard line in the sand between what you can control and what you cannot, choosing to pour all of your vital energy only into your own actions and your own character. You will completely refuse to let an imaginary, terrifying future steal the profound beauty of your actual present moment. Let the rest of the modern world spin out of control. Let other people endlessly chase external validation, panic over the daily news, and stress themselves into early graves. You are stepping off that miserable treadmill. You will remain still, deeply grounded, and fiercely focused on living with unbreakable virtue. The great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of absolutely everything that is randomly thrown into it. starting right now. I challenge you to become that blazing fire. Whatever the unpredictable universe decides to throw at you this week, whether it is an unexpected medical bill, an incredibly painful personal rejection, or simply a massive traffic jam on your commute home, you must consume it and use it as fuel to burn even brighter. You hold the ultimate pen to your own life story now. Do not ever give that incredible power away to the opinions of strangers or the unpredictable hands of fate ever again. The quiet war that has been raging inside your head at 2 a.m. is finally over, because you have finally stepped up to take absolute command of your own mind. Stand incredibly tall. Walk into your future with undeniable purpose, and never apologize for protecting your inner peace. As you step away from this video and back into the reality of your daily routine, you might be wondering exactly how to string all of these powerful ancient habits together into a single, seamless day. Knowledge is completely useless unless you actively forge it into action. So let us build your exact blueprint for your first true Stoic day tomorrow. When your alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m, do not immediately reach for your smartphone. Leave that device resting on your nightstand. Instead, take your very first waking moments to practice the premeditation of evils. Before your feet even touch the cold bedroom floor, calmly remind yourself that today, you will likely encounter people who are ungrateful, arrogant, stressed, and dishonest. Tell yourself that the morning traffic will probably be terrible. Your coffee might spill on your shirt, and a frustrated coworker might seriously challenge your patience. By intentionally accepting these difficult possibilities before the sun even fully rises, you completely disarm their emotional impact. You will walk out of your front door wearing an invisible psychological armor as you commute to work and face the inevitable chaos of the morning rush hour. You will practice the control test. When the careless driver next to you suddenly cuts you off on the busy interstate highway, you will not grip the steering wheel in intense anger or shout out of your window. You will simply smile quietly, fully realizing that their reckless behavior completely belongs in the bucket of things you cannot control. You will keep your energy and focus entirely on what you actually can control, which is the uplifting audiobook you are listening to and the steady, calming rhythm of your own breathing. During your midday lunch break, when everyone else in the break room is frantically scrolling through negative news headlines or gossiping about trivial office politics, you will actively protect your mental temple. You will strictly limit your inputs, stepping outside for a quiet 15-minute walk to deeply anchor yourself in the present moment, leaving your digital devices securely locked in your desk drawer. You will notice the gentle breeze, the warmth of the sun, and the simple, profound fact that you are breathing and perfectly safe right now. Later in the afternoon, if an unexpected crisis suddenly hits your desk, you will absolutely not panic. You will remember the habit of loving your fate. You will look at that massive pile of unexpected paperwork or the sudden, stressful project deadline, and you will boldly declare that this is not a disaster, but a perfect training ground for your inner resilience and an incredible opportunity to practice extreme patience. Finally, when the long day is done, and you return to the quiet comfort of your home, you will not numb your exhausted mind with hours of mindless television programming. Instead, you will sit in the quiet stillness of your room and honestly review your entire day. You will ask yourself if you acted with true virtue, where you might have fallen slightly short, and exactly how you can be even better tomorrow. You will soberly remember that you could leave this fragile life at any moment. And because you face the day with deep honor, you will fall asleep with a perfectly clean conscience, completely free from the exhausting chains of worry. This is not just a passing philosophy. It is a completely new, incredibly powerful way of living. You are now equipped with the exact psychological tools of legendary Roman emperors and triumphant warriors. The only thing left for you to do is to wake up tomorrow morning and start building your indestructible mind. Let us fast forward to a month from now. It is 2 a.m. again. The house is completely silent, just like it was at the beginning of our journey. But this time, something is fundamentally different. You are not lying awake staring at the ceiling with a racing heart. You are not agonizing over an awkward conversation or sweating over a future scenario that has not even happened. Your mind is quiet, your breathing is deep, and your soul is finally at rest. You have successfully built your mental fortress, but to ensure that the exhausting habit of overthinking never returns to claim your peace, you must adopt one final, ultimate perspective shift. The ancient Stoics called this zooming out to the cosmic view. When we are trapped in the cycle of worry, our perspective becomes incredibly narrow. We treat a delayed email, a minor financial bump, or a passing comment from a stranger as if it is the absolute end of the world. But Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on the planet, would regularly walk outside, look up at the vast night sky, and remind himself of his own profound insignificance. He realized that the Roman Empire, for all its glory, was just a tiny speck on a tiny rock floating through an infinite universe. Think about your own life in this context. If you are incredibly lucky, you get about 80 trips around the sun. That is it. Your time on this earth is nothing more than a brief, beautiful flash of light in the grand scope of eternity. When you truly grasp how remarkably short your life is, the heavy burden of overthinking suddenly evaporates. Imagine you are embarking on a breathtaking 3,000-mile road trip across the country. Would you spend the entire beautiful journey staring angrily at a tiny scratch on your steering wheel? Of course, you would not. Yet, that is exactly what we do to our lives when we obsess over things we cannot control. We miss the magnificent scenery of the present moment because we are entirely focused on microscopic scratches. This brings us back to the ultimate ancient reminder of memento mori. You are mortal. You could leave this life right now, today, without any warning. Let that undeniable, sobering fact determine exactly what you do, what you say, and what you think. Do not waste another precious hour of your existence trying to decode the opinions of people who will eventually be forgotten. Do not squander your vital energy fearing a future that is completely out of your hands. Your life is an incredibly rare gift, and it is far too short to be spent living in a constant state of low-grade panic. The world will always be loud, chaotic, and entirely unpredictable. People will disappoint you, Plans will unexpectedly fall apart, and hardships will inevitably arrive at your front door. But you are no longer a victim to that chaos. You are a grounded, resilient warrior who knows exactly how to protect their inner peace. You have the ancient tools. You have the knowledge. And now you have the power. Go out into the world and live with unshakable courage, because a mind at peace is the greatest victory you will ever achieve. As we finally bring this entire journey to a close, I want you to take one last, incredibly deep breath with me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet and recognize the sheer magnitude of what you have just learned. You have armed yourself with ancient wisdom that has literally survived the collapse of massive empires, devastating global plagues, and the brutal test of over 2,000 years. But true Stoicism is not just a collection of inspiring quotes you read on the internet, and it is certainly not a temporary feeling of motivation you get after watching a lengthy video. It is a lifelong, daily practice. It is a quiet, relentless commitment to mastering your own internal universe when the external universe completely loses its mind. There will absolutely be days when you stumble. There will be mornings when the heavy weight of the modern world feels like it is crashing down on your shoulders, and the old, familiar voice of intense anxiety tries to desperately claw its way back into your mind. You might find yourself gripping the steering wheel in intense frustration during a massive morning traffic jam on the interstate, or feeling that sudden knot of absolute panic in your stomach when an unexpected medical bill arrives in the mail. When those challenging moments inevitably happen, and they certainly will, I want you to completely forgive yourself. You are fundamentally human, but then I want you to immediately fall back on the impenetrable mental fortress you have just built. Remember that you do not have to accept every single terrifying thought that knocks on the front door of your mind. You can actively choose to step back, observe the chaos, and calmly ask yourself if this situation is truly within your direct control. You can choose to look at the massive obstacle standing directly in your path and softly whisper to yourself that this very impediment is actually the exact way forward. Let the rest of the modern world spin completely out of control. Let other people endlessly chase the exhausting illusions of social status, endless wealth, and fleeting external validation. Let them panic over the daily news headlines and stress themselves into early graves over temporary things they cannot even touch. You are officially stepping off that miserable, endless treadmill today. You are making the conscious, incredibly powerful decision to remain perfectly still, deeply grounded, and fiercely focused on your own moral character. You absolutely cannot control the unpredictable, chaotic storms of life. You cannot control the global economy, the shifting weather, the unstoppable passing of time, or the often hurtful actions of other people. But you can always, without fail, control your exact thoughtful response to them. That is your ultimate, undeniable power, and no one can ever take that away from you unless you willingly hand it over. The exhausting, quiet war inside your head is finally over. You are a true warrior of the mind now. Walk forward with absolute dignity. Protect your precious inner peace at all costs. and live the rest of your remarkably short life with unshakable courage and profound virtue. If this conversation brought you value today, please consider subscribing to the channel and joining our community of individuals who are completely dedicated to mastering their own minds. I kindly ask that you like this video so that this ancient wisdom can reach others who might be quietly fighting their own battles with overthinking right now. I personally read every single comment, so before you leave, drop your thoughts below, or simply type the phrase, "I choose peace over control," to solidify your new commitment. Thank you for spending your highly valuable time with me today. Stay strong, keep your mind clear, and I will see you in the very next video.